this is Ashley with Surrogate First. I'm glad to be back with our webinars. Today's topic is going to be what to look for in an agency for intended parents. So I can't wait to take you along with us. These things will pertain definitely to all parents looking to find the right match, the right agency for them. Not all agencies are built the same, and not all parents are looking for the same things in an agency. So I think there's definitely some important topics to kind of cover with that. So we'll get started right away. At the end, if there's enough time, I'll definitely answer any questions if we have any. But if you have any questions after you've watched this webinar, please reach out to info, I-N-F-O, at surrogatefirst.com, all spelled out, surrogatefirst.com. Or you can reach out to our website where you can book a time to speak with an IP coordinator who can answer all of your questions and kind of take you through the process there too. We also are able to answer your phone calls, and so our website definitely has a lot of great information for you. And I will open up our website shortly to kind of go over some things to look for when looking at agencies. Sorry about that. So the first thing I would say is we have a little list of things to ask an agency. And so these are questions that I would definitely want to go over or touch on a couple important ones. I'm going to try to keep this sweet and short and sweet just so that we get you as much information as we can, but also I don't want to bore you. So we'll try to stick to around 15 to 18 minutes. If you do have any questions, again, send out that email to info. We'll send you that list of questions to ask an agency or more information about our agency if you're looking to find the right agency for you and would like to speak with our staff. So the first thing I would ask is that, how long has the agency been in operation? Now, this question can be a little tricky, and there's a couple things you're going to want to find out more about. One is, how long have the founders been in the field of surrogacy? Have they had prior experience? You know, things like that are definitely important to kind of cover. Some agencies have been around for the beginning of time, 25 years. Other agencies are in their first couple of years. So it's important to understand how much experience the agency has, the founders have, and the staff has, and what their education is when it comes to surrogacy. So those are definitely things that I would ask and keep in mind. There's not a set number. It's more just for information building. Sorry, my mute button. The next thing is, how many surrogate journeys do they care for in a year? Kind of understanding where that's at, how was it last year? I mean, COVID hit a lot of people hard. And so how did the agency do? Did they have to lay off people? Did they grow? What did they learn from it? Understanding that and seeing how big is their caseload? That's definitely an important question to find out if you're going to be able to reach your people. The other thing would be, are you available 24/7 if there's an emergency? That's something else that would be, definitely important as you're looking through what happens if something, occurs. Is there a supervisor? Is there a director? How can I get a hold of people middle of the night or the weekends if there's an emergency? So definitely asking that question is important. You want to also understand what is the surrogate's recommended the agency's recommended surrogate compensation? Is there a standard to that? Are they allowed to make changes? Just so you're understanding, what is the possible, cost for a first-time surrogate or the cost of a experienced surrogate? How does that work? And is it changed during different parts of the country, throughout the country? You also want to ask them, what type of screening do you do with your surrogates, and what type of screening do you have for your IPs? What is your responsibility as an IP? And then with the surrogates, finding out, do you guys do background checks, drug panels, medical record reviews? There are so many different things. Psychological evaluations, are those included in your agency fee? Are those not included in your agency fee? What is included in your agency fee? That's definitely, important. Do you hold escrow as an agency? Do you have in-house attorneys? Those are things you want to ask because you want to understand that, can I find an attorney outside of your agency? Can I use an escrow company outside of your agency? We personally don't hold escrow, and we don't have any attorneys in-house, but we do give a list, and that's an important question to ask as an intended parent. Are you going to be able to guide me? How do you help me finding an attorney, or how do you help me with figuring out my escrow company? Will you give me a list of them? Will you give me recommendations? Piggybacking on that would be the next question. do you get any type of compensation for these arrangements? Do you get paid from the escrow companies, the attorneys, the clinics for your, for working with them or referring them? Here at SurrogateFirst, we don't get any type of compensation from any of our partners. And if we did get a discount, it would be passed on directly to you. That's just kind of how we work, but not everybody's the same. And so it's important to kind of know that information. I would also, want to know, are there availability for counseling for the intended parents and the surrogate going through the process if there's an issue? What happens if there's a breach of contract? Will you help to guide me, referring me to my attorney, or will you help to set up, some type of mediation or time for us to speak with a psychologist or a family, marriage therapist, those kind of questions. What type of support will you offer for that? We also want to kind of ask people too, is how much money is going to be in escrow? How much is expected to be in there for the journey? It's always recommended to have enough in escrow that funds and fully funds your surrogacy journey, in case there are things that come up, so that you can budget for that and it's not a surprise. You also want to know, have you been sued by any clients or surrogates? And so clients being your intended parents or clients being your surrogates, has anyone sued you? That is definitely something that's important to know. Does the agency monitor and track, the pay of the surrogates expenses, or how does that process work before setting up the escrow or during medical clearance, and how does it work after? I would also ask, where the normal clinics that you work with are located. Do you have, clinics that you work with on a, fairly often basis? Have you worked with my clinic before? And how, if not, how will we be able to connect that, what is your process in working with a new, new clinic? So those are definitely questions to be asking. The other question would be, how does it work with setting up insurance, and what type of support do you have for that? What does delivery look like? What kind of support do you give me for delivery or for the contracts? Are you going to help to remind me when we need to set up a new contract, or are you going to help to educate us about the delivery process? Do you have a birth plan you set up for us? Do you contact the hospital? Do you make sure that those things are in order, like the pre-birth orders? What is your services, and how can you help us with this journey? I think that's definitely something important, because you are going to be preparing for a baby. And so figuring out all of that is going to be difficult. It's going to be extra work. A good agency is going to be able to have open communication, over communicate with you, make sure that you're understanding the process, and then also being there. No agency is perfect. No human is perfect. And so also asking the agency, how do you handle if if my expectations of your care, drop, or you drop the ball? How do you guys rectify that? Do you have something in place? Have you ever experienced that, and how were you able to correct it? While this is not a job interview, it's still an interview, and it's important to interview several, agencies and figure out which one's the right for you. Some are very large, and some are small, some are medium sized. Some are going to have, much higher numbers in their journeys. Others will have lower numbers. You want to understand, like, how do you guys, care for us? What are some of the things that you can help with making this a special journey? Or, hey, we're fearful. We've got some anxiety right now about all of this. So many things are out of control, out of our control. We don't know. How can you help me with this? I think an agency that's open to educating you, and to walking you through the process, that's important. You need to feel safe with them. You need to trust them. You need to feel comfortable. I would also ask questions like, do you have any referrals, or can we speak to your intended parents that you've worked with? Do you have a couple that are willing to talk with us? And be able to talk to other intended parents and find out about the process. It's really important to kind of look at that. It's also important to look at reviews, but keep in mind, most positive reviews, most clients that have positive reviews, they may not necessarily post those. So looking at the negative reviews, and it's okay to bring those up to the agency, say, hey, this is my concern. Can you help me with this, or can you explain things? Definitely is important, when you're looking at different agencies. I would also ask, and one of my favorite questions, because my heart is for surrogacy, is, why did you get started, or how did you get started? What is the heart behind the agency? What are your goals as an agency? Understanding where they're coming from and what their plans were and where they want to be this year and next year in 5 years. It's really important for you to understand where, what's their wow factor? What is their, when you get to the core, where it's the heart of the agency? I would also ask, what's the, and I touched on this earlier, but what's the experience of the, of your staff? How have they made it to surrogacy? How are they in, in a surrogate agency? So I think those are definitely important questions. I'm going to put it onto our website just so I can mention a couple things that you should look for on a website, because you're probably going to reach out to the website, review it, go over it, and then decide from there to book an appointment with the agency. So I definitely think that's, important. I would also ask about costs. Do you have a parent brochure that can kind of go through the potential cost? How can you support us? So if you give me a minute, I'm going to try to just share my screen, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so if everything worked, you're seeing my screen. This is Lena, this is our founder. So it's important when you're going through your surrogate, agency's website, looking, do they have a team? Are they listing their team? Is it easy to find out who started the company? Is it easy to find out who's working on their staff? Those are important things. If you don't have any idea and it just looks like a boxed website, how are you going to hold people accountable? Or how do you know to get a hold of people if needed? You make sure they've got resources, they've got partners that they've listed on there, if they're part of any type of organization. So you want to go, scroll through, head down to the bottom and kind of look, what type of programs are they working with, where are they located? A lot of agencies work remotely, or they may have offices. Due to COVID, a lot of us went indoors. And so where is your support team? Where can is there anyone near me? Also checking to see, hey, I can schedule something with my parents, looking at what programs they're with. So like, are they with Resolve, ASRM, Seeds, Growing Ethics? There's also Men Having Babies, because, it's June, so it's Pride Month, do you have support for homosexual couples? Do you have support for heterosexual couples? What does that all include? So definitely checking, how do I contact you? What kind of support? You also want to check too, do they have the surrogate's compensation or a cost that could potentially be, a factor? And so you want to check out, they've got compensations, they've got parent information, they have cost calculators. Cost calculators are not necessary. They're an awesome tool, and I'm pretty proud of the one we have. But, so that's definitely a bonus. They don't have to have that. Come on over to our site. You can use ours. It's no problem. And while you're there, stick around and see what we have to offer at Surrogate First. Also, legal maps, blogs, any kind of articles. Look at what they've got going on. Where's their heart? What is it about them? What's their mission at Surrogate, like as a surrogacy agency? I think that's a lot of, information I've probably thrown at you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just kind of give you just a little bit more. So if you want what to ask what to ask an agency, or you want more information, you can contact us at info@surrogatefirst.com. If you have any questions and you would like to talk with us, my direct line is 424-567-3703. And we also have a 1-800 number on our website you can check out. We've got a calendar to book consultations or ask questions, speak to an intended parent, speak to a surrogate. Definitely all of those things. A couple things I want to reiterate. We do these webinars for education. And at our agency, we are a strict no match, no fee policy. And what that means is reach out to us, ask questions, schedule the consultations, find out the process and the costs that can be, that are occurred. We don't actually have an agency fee deposit until your agency has approved the surrogate's medical records and you've completed a match meeting. So there's no pressure in meeting with us. We have an average match time of 4 to 6 weeks, and sooner than that, sooner. From Hawaii, sometimes the grammar just slips out, especially at the end of the day. But, so please forgive my my poor, my poor grammar. But yeah, reach out to us, ask questions. There's no pressure. We're not going to stalk you. We're not going to pressure you. We just want to educate. We want to make sure that you're not taken advantage of. Speaking of the taken advantage of, find out what your agency's agreement is. Can I see an agency agreement? Am I able to share it with my attorney to get reviewed? Check when agency fees are due. Check when different items are due. What is their responsibilities? That is going to be a huge one. Make sure that your agency has a very transparent contract that you can understand, your attorneys can understand, because it's important to understand that, hey, if I start right now, what if I don't have a surrogate in 6 months to a year? What if my first surrogate doesn't get, qualified with the clinic? Where are we at there? Have I lost my agency deposit? So asking those type of questions are really important. They should be able to share that information with you on their consultations and their parent brochures. There will be something, but asking those questions is okay. You need to protect yourself. We can't deny the fact that surrogacy is not someone's first choice. You've been through, years of IVF, or, having to find an egg donor or a sperm donor, creating your embryos, trying yourselves, or maybe even a traditional surrogacy. And then you come to you come to gestational surrogacy. And so in those aspects, it's important to just check on everything, take the time to look through the agency, what they stand for, what's their agreement. You don't want to take an advantage of, because at the end of the day, this is not a cheap process, and it takes your time, it takes your heart, it takes trusting people, it takes your finances, and at the end you still have to pay for your diapers and college and everything like that. So take the time to find a good agency, ask your questions. If you have any questions for us, we're here always, and I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll join us in 2 weeks when we are going to have such a fun webinar. So excited about this. So basically what we'll be doing is we are bringing husbands on. Ask a surrogate, ask a husband what's going on. I mean, how many times do you wonder, or how many times does your partner, if you're a surrogate, wonder, what do the husbands go through? What are their responsibilities? How do they feel about this? What's the good, the bad, and the ugly for the family? Because you need to make sure as a surrogate that this is the right choice for you, because this is not all rainbows, unicorns, and Skittles. Like this is something that's serious, and it takes a lot of responsibility. As a 3-time surrogate, I would never change it for the world. My family has been blessed because of it. The families that we've helped grow have been blessed from it. Our lives are all changed. So it's something that I would never regret, but it's important to understand that information. So tune in next week, or sorry, 2 weeks. Tune in 2 weeks from now when you get to meet a couple of our husbands who have been through the surrogacy process. And it's definitely not scripted with them. We have wish me luck as my husband joins us in 2 weeks. Again, reach out to us if you need anything. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Bye.